The transition are really a big part of what makes this not just Qigong, but Taiji Qigong. It's that notion that every movement, from the moment we start to the end, we're constantly moving. Even if we're repeating the movement in between, there's always a connection. We're never stopping somewhere before we're moving on to something else. So there's this connectivity, and the connectivity of the chi is really what gives life to the movement. Rather than being a group of movement one after the other, there's a connectivity in the sequence that makes sense also for why we do one movement, then the next, then the other one, and how things are looping together. We'll do just 2 breaths, and I'll kind of guide you through the story of what's going on. So, beginning the form, regulating the breath. As we begin the form, allowing the breath to regulate, the mind to settle down, we allow the chi to gently rise, opening up the central axis so that the Zen chi can start to flow freely through the channel. Then we allow the expansion through the middle dantian to connect us with the environment, that expansion expanding the chest where we want the rib cage to open and to have the expansion of the breath, of the structure that allow the lungs to fill up, create the movement. That expansion laterally link with the central axis. On waving the rainbow, we want to make sure that the chi rises and connect also with the upper dantian, connecting stronger with heaven, and then bringing the chi back into the kidney as we move around, squeezing and opening the kidneys through the back, working out through the waist and the connection from Bai Hui down to our feet. From here, coming back down, allowing that sinking to really take roots under the feet into the earth, finding back the central axis and connecting it through the Wei Qi all the way around. So we've kind of worked all the parts separated. Now we're connecting the 3 dantian with the Taiji pole, allowing this expansion into the Wei Qi. Once the central line again is settled in, we're going into in a fixed posture, turning the arm, again connecting the 3 dantian and focusing on their meeting point in the middle dantian of the Qi from heaven and earth. And again, allowing this expansion to open, reaching out the palm, focusing a bit more on the front and back axis, but really it's everywhere. It's that expansion from the middle dantian, up, down, and lateral before we go deeper into the earth, rising to heaven, allowing heaven to sink, passing through better because we've opened up more the middle dantian so that heaven can sink deeper into the earth and that the earth can rise and fill us up more easily towards heaven. Coming back down, reconnecting with the kidneys, allowing the Yuan Qi to rise into the brain and feed the brain. Connecting left and right together and then rising even higher up to heaven, sinking deeper into the earth, inhaling up, reaching as we rotate, connecting left and right as well, coming back into a fixed posture, turning the arm, into turning waist, pushing palm, gathering the chi into the lower dantian, really making the base strong and feeling the connectivity from the dantian to the palm and feeling that strength spreading through the body. Again, from the lower dantian, expanding the qi, reaching up the upper dantian, connecting the jing and the shen together, harmonizing the movement of qi in between the two so that the body and the mind are on the same page. Feeling this bubble through our body before taking a step, expanding the bubble under into the earth, gathering more of the earth, allowing it to pass through, reaching up into heaven, connecting with heaven chi, letting it sink through the body deep into the earth. So increasing this rising and sinking between heaven and earth, pushing the wave, connecting more with the environment, the human layer between heaven and earth, feeling the presence or mixing the presence of heaven and earth through the human layer, and then connecting all three again with the pigeon spread its wings, feeling this expansion, blending them all into one single space. Turning the palm, grabbing the chi and feeding the lower dantian again, connecting to the kidney, the root, and then allowing the chi to flow, keeping it in our palm and strengthening the lower dantian. Connecting down into the earth, finding the central axis again, feeling the difference between the first movement and this one, how the intensity of the rising through the central axis is much stronger, shifting the weight to the side, connecting to the weight chi that's all around us, feeling the strength and the size of this bubble, connecting deep into the earth, finding the central axis at the bottom and at the top, switching direction, seeing how the whole form brought us to this point where both central axis and weight chi are strong and palpable before we gather the chi back into the lower dantian, bouncing it, making sure that it is young, active, vibrant, before we then allow the chi to go back to its automated flow, feeling the vibration into the lower dantian and letting the chi start to settle, the mind letting go, and allowing the body to go back to its automated cycle so that we can go on about our day while the body is full, balanced, and ready to do whatever needs to be done next. That notion of how the chi connects the movement together, how it's just a natural progression of its play. Once one layer is full, then the next layer give us something else, and we go back and we play. We have this global pulsation of the chi outward and inward that keeps going and really feeds us and allows us to open all the different layers through it. Doing the form in itself, even though it may take sometimes a bit more time to realize these details, everything is there. And it's not something that we consciously want to try to do as, oh, I have to do this kind of thing. It's more a let's allow it to grow. to transform, to really feel this connectivity that's always present. Um, the same way when I mentioned that as we're doing this, we can notice that there's a difference between the first movement, how it moves the chi through the central axis, and this one. Technically, at some point, there won't be any difference. It will just be the chi moving once you reach, the same intensity with both. They're just moving it slightly differently. So the flavor will be a little different, but also once the central axis is open and the chi constantly move through it, then there's not really a difference in sensation. The difference is more how open our mind is. If when we do the first movement, we limit everything through the body rather than feeling how when the hands are here by way open and the top of the head and the chi really rises naturally into heaven as well. We don't need to rise on our tipitio and have our hands up here to feel that same opening. The difference will come because of the practice of the form that helps us to open everything. And by the time we're here, we're, 15 minutes into the form. So we've been, boosting up the chi. So we will, at first, you feel that difference. But then gradually over the years of cultivating and building, just doing this once will be enough that you're kind of always in that deeper Qigong state, or it's easy to get into it a lot faster. And then after that, you can discover other layers that also exist there and keeps developing. So there's always something new to discover within the practice.